So in this session, we are discussing about the real-time projects in SAP. So for real-time projects, we need to understand what are the different types of projects we have: SAP methodology, system landscape, transport organizer, coding standards, understanding the specifications, project documents, project hierarchy, and few more other topics as well. So we are now discussing about the types of projects. In the types of projects, we have implementation project. So in the implementation project we have something like, I'm taking an example of, let's say BMW is implementing SAP for implementing SAP and for BMW we are implementing SAP from IBM. So IBM is a software company who actually is implementing SAP for BMW. So this is what we have. So types of projects in this, like BMW is something which is a product manufacturing company, and then we have IBM is a software company who actually deployed for SAP. So I have a very simple example of this. For example, let's say one of you have purchased an iPhone 8. So let's say I'm taking an example of Pragya has purchased an iPhone 8, and then okay, and then we have like, so this is something which is a latest model. So I mean, like the latest model iPhone 10 or 11 or something like that. So now you don't know how to configure it and all these things, and you don't have time also. So what you do, you simply give that iPhone to someone who is an expert in your vicinity, whoever is near to you, and maybe for some friends or someone, and they will be fixing it up and giving it to you. Let's say something like, say I'll take an example of Ish. So Ish is doing this, he configures everything and gives it to Pragya. Now you're going to charge something for, I mean, Ish is going to charge something for that particular process of implementing it. So now, why did Pragya give that iPhone to be configured and customized by each? Because he is expert in it, and he can complete it faster than Pragya if Pragya does it alone. So similarly, even if you are constructing a house, okay, you do the same thing. You give the contract to someone who is an expert in that. Okay, you don't hire the people and do it. So you give it to a contractor, and the contractor will have the entire idea. So similar to that. Okay, I hope you all are clear with this concept. So BMW gives that project to a company like IBM to implement SAP. Now IBM will go ahead and understand the BMW, and then we'll start doing the implementation for this. So in this kind of a scenario, the SAP software will be purchased by BMW. SAP software plus hardware was outside, so hardware also will be purchased by BMW. All these things will be purchased by BMW only. Now once upon a time, we had the hardware used to come out of SAP. So SAP was not involved into the hardware business and database business also. SAP had its own database, but nobody was using it, so everybody was using Oracle and SQL databases. So SAP now gives a appliance, SAP appliances. So it's called HANA appliance. Okay, what is an appliance? It's a combination of software plus hardware. So it is a combination of software plus hardware. Both together, SAP is going to sell. Okay, so non-SAP hardware used to be there. Now, when it happened, this slowly started in the year of 2012 when HANA was introduced. 2012, HANA was introduced. So now, why I'm telling this is because we need to know where from the actual software is coming, where from the hardware is coming. Now, this will be purchased by BMW and handed over to IBM. Just like if your house has to be painted, so you will be having two ways of contract. Like will you bring the paint or should I buy the paint and give it to you? So for labor cost, how much would it cost? And for paint, how much would it cost? Simple logic, right? This is how you talk to the contractors, painting contractors. Now, same thing with BMW also. They say to IBM, you go and buy it from SAP. If you have any, semi discounts or something like that, you can go ahead with that. So IBM says if you purchase directly from SAP, you have this much cost, and we might give it to you for a slightly lesser cost or something like that. And IBM will also have that process. So IBM can get a product, get a okay mark from BMW, saying that you can go ahead and purchase the software and hardware according to the project, because we should not have any issues. Otherwise, sometimes in some cases BMW itself goes to SAP directly and purchases it and hand it over to IBM. That also, that kind of cases also will happen. Now, once it's been before, even before the purchase of the software and all, they will first analyze what should happen, how the project should go ahead, and all these things. They will be having a full clarity on that. So once they do that, so to implement a project, it will take somewhere around 12 to 18 months approximately. Okay, this is the normal standard. So it might take even earlier, or it might take more than 2 years also, but this is the normal timings that it will take to get that much of the entire project to be implemented. So if you are assigned to an implementation project, uh, so it is understood that you might be there in the project from 12 to 18 months. If at all, if you enter the project in the middle of in the middle, then it might be ending even faster. So what are the things that we are going to do in 12 to 18 months is what I'll be explaining you later. Right now we are discussing about the implementation project. So this will take 12 to 18 months, and somewhere around 50 to 100 people. Okay, 50 to 100 employees, or people. Okay, so 100 people will be working in this. Okay, this is the normal thing. Again, it might be lesser than this, it might be more than this. This is the average that we are talking about. Okay, so it will take 50 to 80 50 to 100, people, and it will be work will be very planned, perfectly planned. So who has to do which work, and when it has to happen, everything will be planned very clearly. And what exactly we do in the implementation project, we'll see later. But what is an implementation project is what we're discussing. Okay, I hope this is clear. And the work which we do in the implementation part, as I said, you will come back later. Right now, the next type of project which we have is support or maintenance guide. So, support or maintenance. Support or maintenance project. In the support or maintenance project, let's say a particular company has already implemented. Let's say BMW has already implemented the project. Now BMW wants to have a support, because any time when they are working on the project, sometimes suddenly something goes wrong. Somebody has to be there. Someone has to be there to fix it up. So a team should be there to fix up the issues. Okay, there might be some planned upgradations also, some additions to the normal program also. So there will be a lot of things that will do in the support project. So support project, let's say BMW wants to give the support project. Okay, now BMW can give the project to IBM support project. In this context, what I'm trying to tell you is the company which implemented SAP for them, or they can give it to some other company like Infosys, or they can go ahead and it can have in-house team. So they can hire in-house team, and they can also work on it. See, never ever the client will go for implementation project with their own in-house team, because they cannot have that much big in-house team, and for such a short time. Again, after 18 months or 2 years, you'll not have any work. So in-house projects will be there when we are having the support project. Okay, support and maintenance project. This will be like there will be a lot of upgradations also will happen here internally, small upgradations, and it will take somewhere around, it is having no limit. So it will be 1 year to, it can run up to 10 years also. So there's no limit for it. So if any one of you has placed with support project, there's no limit for it, guys. Like you can keep on going in it, keep on working in it. Okay, now here the next thing is the number of people who will be working is somewhere around, even in its ideal is 10 to 50 people. But again, here also, like it might be less than that or more than that also. So I have worked in support projects in which the team size was almost 300. Okay, for BMW itself, in and there are projects in which I worked in which, like there were only three people, like Pratt and Whitney Canada. Pratt and Whitney Canada, PwC Canada is something which is a, they manufacture the aircrafts and all. Okay, so this is what we have. Right? So now this is an ideal time, and ideal number of people will be 10 to 50 people. So chances of you getting more work to learn, more things to learn, can be either in implementation project or support project. Either of these two you can work, you can learn a lot. But the procedure in which we work is completely different from completely different from the implementation project. Unplanned work, nothing is more planned. Most of the work is unplanned. Like, suddenly someone got an issue. Issue, someone getting getting an issue is like, somebody is meeting with an accident. So you never know who. Nothing is planned. You can't plan an accident. So it's something which happens, and then you have to rush to solve it. It's like, you are always like sitting in an ambulance. So, and you always have to take a decision of which one is most prioritable, and all these things. In some projects, see, the toughest projects and the easiest projects, both are support projects only. Let's say if the implementation is done very nicely and everything is stabilized. If everything is stabilized, the internet is, if the implementation was done excellently well and no issues at all, you'll not have work at all in the support project. But at the same time, if the implementation was not done properly, then you will have a lot of work. Okay, so issues keep on coming, and then we have to keep on solving them. So this is how it will be for the support project. And for support projects, we'll have tools. Okay, so how the project support project work will come, and what are the works that we are going to do in the support project is what we're going to cover it later. So we have the implementation project, wherein like we'll be working in the software company, and then we'll be catering to a client, a particular client, and for the client we are going to implement it. And support project, you can either work in the software company, or you can work in in-house team also. So if somebody says that, I'm working for Philips. Okay, I'm working in Philips. So it might be there might be a chance that they are working in in-house project, because Philips has in-house projects and they have in-house team. So they'll be working with on the Philips payrolls only. But in the most of the cases, they'll be working in software companies. Okay, now comes the uh, upgradation project. So upgradation is from old version to latest version. Okay, and this might be like, this might be given to the same implemented company, or it can be given to some other company also. So it might be the same company. Like for example, if BMW is implemented, IBM is implemented for BMW, then BMW can give it to the same IBM, or it can give to some other company also. So let's say we have, BMW can give it to some Infosys also. It can be their choice. And this project will run somewhere on, it's supposed to be run from 3 to 9 months, but on an average it will take somewhere around 12 months, guys, like 12 months or something like that. Okay, so the number of team members will be again 10 to 50 people, because this is an upgradation part. So 10 to 50 people is what we'll have in the upgradation part. And then we have the rollout project. Rollout project is a project which most of the, even the real time guys do not know about rollout project. So if you have if you meet people who are in the real time, and you ask them, did you ever work in rollout project, the first question that you'll get is, what is rollout project? Okay, so why is it so? Is because it's very very rare, guys. Rollout projects are very rare. So if you say BMW is for BMW India. Okay, for BMW India, IBM has implemented the project. Okay, now BMW liked it and they want to implement it for the same term for BMW UAE. They want to implement for BMW UAE. Fine, they want to do it. But now the question is IBM going to implement it, or it can be Infosys, I mean to say some other company, any other XYZ company. So there are two choices. Now, when BMW UAE gives the project to IBM, okay, then it can be considered as rollout project. So what is rollout project is ROLL, sorry. So what is rollout project is, if a particular company is implementing SAP for the client, and if the same company is implementing it for same client but only geographical change, okay, then it will be considered as rollout project. If Infosys is doing it, you cannot consider it as a rollout project, because Infosys have to start everything from the beginning as an implementation project. It has to be considered as an implementation project, right? Because Infosys does not know anything, but IBM knows a lot of things about the project. IBM knows a lot of things about the client which they can use for the UAE implementation. But again, if BMW India has implemented in 2010, and if BMW UAE is coming in 2015 and saying that, I have to implement again coming back to IBM, then also it is not considered as a rollout project. So rollout project is like very very narrow chances of you getting a rollout project, because the client might be, UAE, BMW UAE might decide that, Infosys is better than them in that geographical location, maybe. Okay, so in that case, yeah, they will give the project to that particular company. Okay, so rollout project is the fourth one, and the fifth one is, here also for rollout project also it will be the same like the support project, our upgradation project. It will be like 3 to 9 months. It might take 12 months also, and then it will be like 3 to 9 months is the, and there will be like 10 to 50 people on an average. Okay, but that does not mean that it's only that's a limit. You can have any number. Okay, so now the latest one which we have is the migration project. Migration projects also will come. So migration projects is a project in which we only have the version, I mean like the server migration will be there. So they'll migrate from one server to another server, something like that, those things. So migration project is like, from SAP ECC 6.0 to SAP HANA. Something like that. So these are the migration projects that we have. Okay, so migration project also will take somewhere around same 3 to 9 months, and 10 to 50 people. Out of all this, most of you get a chance to work in implementation and support project, guys. And in the recent times, because everyone is moving to HANA, you might get the migration project as well. Okay. So other than these three, we have the rollout project, and then we have this upgradation project. So rollout project and upgradation projects are uh, a bit rare. Rollout project is extremely rare. So, but the work is actually, in all the projects work is planned. Only in the support project work is unplanned, because we never know which end user will get what kind of a issue. So that's the reason there is no limit for that. Now, to understand the kind of work that we get in the real-time projects, to understand the real kind of work that we get in the real-time project, and especially the implementation project, we are going to discuss about the implementation project now. So, to understand the pattern of work that we get in the implementation project, we first need to understand about the ASAP methodology. So, accelerated SAP is the roadmap given by SAP to implement any kind of a projects in the SAP's environment. Now there are a lot of methodologies, like you might have heard about the software development lifecycle and methodology, or we have the waterfall methodology in internally in it. So there are a lot of methodologies that we can discuss about, but specifically for SAP project implementation, we have ASAP methodology, and Activate methodology is something which is mostly for the HANA implementation projects. So for ASAP methodology, we basically have a particular points that we have to understand here. We need to understand about certain points here. So we have ASAP methodology, accelerated, accelerated. So in accelerated SAP, the first concept, first topic would be the project preparation phase. Project preparation phase. This is the phase, and then comes the. These are the different phases in which we are going to implement the project. Next is the business blueprint phase. Business blueprint phase, and then we have the implementation phase or the implementation or execution. This is the execution phase. Okay, then we have the testing phase, or final preparation phase. This is also called as final preparation. Then we have the go live, and then we have support. The sixth step might not be seen in some ASAP methodologies. In most of the old methodologies, the support that this company has to give it. This was added in the recent times in the last version of ASAP methodology. Okay, it was after 7.0 version. So this is like a support. The last step is something which was added later. Prior to this, we have these 5 steps for any implementation project. Now this is a roadmap given by SAP, and SAP also helps us out, the IBM company, to follow this methodology by supplying a lot of templates. So we'll be getting a lot of templates for any documents. It will be easy for us to fill it up and then get it, like, okay. So now now that we are discussing about the ASAP methodology, the question here is, does every company has to follow ASAP methodology to implement SAP? The answer is no. Okay, so every company need not follow ASAP methodology to implement SAP. They might follow some other methodology also. So, for example, like we have some kind of methodologies, very typical methodologies which we normally don't hear in everyday life. So we have B2B implementation methodology or something like that. So I'll be explaining that later in short. But see, this methodology is standard, and SAP says that this is the way in which uh, we have to implement the SOP project. Now, uh, so if, let's say, I'll just give you a small example. Like, you have to go from your home to your school. Okay, so in your childhood, okay, if you had to go from your home to your school, you normally would have had a regular way which was told to you by your elders or someone, and then you could have also found out some other ways to go to school later. Okay, but what is the best way to school is what people suggest you. You have to go from this road and all. Then you get you find some shortcuts or some shortcuts or something like that, or maybe you want to play around and then go. So we have different ways in which we can do. Similarly, here in an ASAP methodology is something which is normally suggested by SAP to for all the companies, but it does not mean that the company should go for that kind of a ASAP methodology only. So this B2B implementation was done by for a particular company in which they wanted to do implementation for 14 countries at a time. So 14 different implementations at a time. They wanted to do it for the 14 different companies. Now, if they wanted to do it for 14 different companies at a time, then what is the most important thing that we have to do is we have to first complete the work which is common for all the 14. So there should not be any duplication of programs. So there should be some common programs which we have to develop for all the companies. That needs to be done first. That needs to be implemented first. Then we need to go for the specific ones, so specifically for which particular company you want. Okay. That for that particular scenario, that implementation, that methodology was fine. But in general, for all the SAP implementation projects, will have these steps. Okay, accelerated SAP methodology is called accelerated SAP methodology, which is the best. It is considered as the best methodology for SAP implementations prior to HANA. Prior to HANA, after HANA came into picture, Activate methodology is more into the projects now. So Activate methodology also we'll discuss. So accelerated SAP is a very important concept now. So these are the steps in which we have to do the implementation. So if you see, this is an old diagram, so you cannot see the sixth step, that support. Support is completely made as a separate uh, step now. So we have this 5 different steps wherein we have the project preparation, business blueprint, realization, execution is realization, final preparation phase, and go live phase. So what exactly we do in each and every step of this is what we need to understand. Okay, from in each every step we have some functionalities to do, and what are those functionalities is what we'll see now. Okay, so project preparation phase is the first phase of the entire project, wherein we will be, I mean, the BMW team will sit with the IBM. Okay, so let's discuss that. So in the first phase of project preparation phase, this will be in general running for somewhere around 15 to 30 days. So in this phase, BMW will sit with BMW executives will sit with IBM, and they will fill up the FAQs. The FAQs. So there will be some questions that IBM will ask BMW, and they need to answer. So what are these questions all about? Say they want to understand how the finance department is working. Let's take an example of finance department. Okay, finance department. They want to understand the finance department, execution of finance department. So what IBM will do is IBM will understand the flow or the process in which BMW is doing its financial process. They'll have a flow, so they'll try to understand. And how do they understand? With a proper questioning. And what questions they will ask? See, it cannot be like that okay, I ask this 10 questions and everything I'll know. No, there might be something missing. So to avoid that, or avoid those kind of permutations and combinations and hit and trial method, what SAP does is it provides the standard FAQs. It provides the standard FAQs which can be used for for IBM to get a clarity from BMW. So it's like what is written in the questions might be understood by us only by the technical people and all, but we need to ask the client in a more proper way in which we can understand he can understand. For example, like if say technically speaking, like we'll say logic. So if you say logic, we're writing a logic means people outside software might not understand. So you can just tell them that yeah, I'm writing a code. So there is some slight change in the technical terms. So those kind of technical terms we have to change, and we have to uh, get the answers from them. So each department will sit with the each people, each team will sit with a particular department. For example, here there will be SAP FICO people, SAP FICO consultant. This SAP FICO consultants will be sitting with the finance team. So finance team might not know anything about SAP, but the SAP FICO consultant will know about the finance, as well as they will know about the what you call the SAP as well. So both. So those kind of people will come into picture. And in some projects, we have worked in a lot of projects in which they don't know anything about SAP. So these are purely SAP FICO consultants. That also can happen. So they are purely FICO consultants. In this kind of scenario, what happens is like all that they have to take it all that they have to do is they have to understand the BMW business. They're not doing anything in the SAP front, right? So that also is possible. So but mostly highly experienced people only will be involving with the client guys, like so minimum 8 to 12 years experience guys will be involving here, or even more than that. So this 8 to 12 years experience need not be SAP experience. They all that they need is they need the financial experience well. Okay, so if they have finance related experience, and even they are having very less amount of experience in SAP, even then they will participate in the project preparation phase, because project preparation phase we need to understand the functionality, nothing to do with the SAP. Then for there will be a lot of FAQs. Like for the ABAP team, there will be different FAQs. ABAP team will not involve in the project preparation phase. The administration team will involve. So basis team. So basis team will involve, because they need to know which server have to be implemented, which server have to be installed, and if that install, how many people are going to work. And all these things. There are a lot of things that they'll be have to analyze. So the hardware part and all will be decided by the administration team, right? The basis team. So they'll be very much involved in the project preparation phase. They also will have the FAQs. So those templates will be there for material management department, sales and distribution department, project production planning department. So all these departments, we have these things. So we have then project business blueprint phase. So business blueprint phase is a phase in which we will come back and conclude what is done, what exactly happened. So we come back and conclude. So what exactly we do in the business blueprint phase is what we'll see now. So let's say now we got a clarity of what BMW wants. I mean to say what the client wants. So now we will do the as is. We'll prepare some documents. These are the documents which are prepared by the functional team. Okay. So those documents are as is document, to be document, and gap analysis. So BMW, what do you call? No, BMW will not involve here, but since we understood the BMW's business process, we will simply go ahead and do the process. I mean, like we'll go ahead and analyze it. So we'll prepare as is document. What is as is document is, now that we know what the client wants, we will try to fix it up with the SAP already existing options that we have. Let's say there is a particular sales orders have to be created on a daily basis. For creating a sales order, you don't have to write a logic for that. You already have a standard transaction code called VA01. If somebody has to create a vendor, on a daily basis. You don't have to develop it. It is already there in the standard SAP software. There is a transaction code by MK0 from where we can create a vendor. So you don't have to build anything for that. So those all come under the as is document. So in whatever the client needs, from that we will select and we'll write that in the as is document. Then we have the to be document. In the to be document, to be document, so what exactly we do in the to be document is what is not there in SAP but which we have to implement. For example, the client wants a new screen, brand new screen, in which he wants to update all the Aadhaar card numbers of the employees, which is not there in the SAP standard transaction. Let's say when we are creating an employee, we don't have any process of updating the Aadhaar card number. So they want to create they wanted a new screen. If they want a new screen, then the ABAP team has to do it. So those things come under the to be document. So we'll make a list of all the things, and then we'll again prepare the gap analysis. What exactly is the gap analysis document? Clearly states what are the developments that we have to do, because those are not there. Those are not there in the SAP standard. That's the reason you have to implement them. That's what gap analysis will actually tell. So these templates, okay, as is document template, to be document template, gap analysis document template, everything will be provided by SAP only. Okay, they'll be giving it. But some clients, they will suggest that we should go for the documents which they prepare. Okay. So it's something like that. They'll have their own customized documents, and those documents have to be used. Okay, so once the gap analysis is done, we will do some discussions internally in the organization and all, and after that we'll be preparing a business blueprint. Now business blueprint you can consider as a kind of a legal document as well, because in which we are going to give the duration, how much time do we need to, within how much time we are going to complete the implementation project, resources, how many resources are required, and then infrastructure, what is the infrastructure which is required, and finally the most important thing, how much is the budget of this project. Okay, these all things will be mentioned very clearly in the business blueprint phase. So all these things will be mentioned in the business blueprint phase, in the business blueprint document. So business blueprint document is kind of it's a legal document which will be signed by both the client and our implementing company. So it is not that something like this is, yeah, so we both will be signing off, and if either the client or our implementing company has an issue, then we are going to sit down and again change that, modify that business blueprint, and then we have to again present it, and then we have to sign it. Once the business blueprint is signed off, so this is also called as sign off, or this is also called as kickoff. So once it's been done, then execution actually starts. The realization, execution means realization. And in the blueprint phase, the people who will be working will be having somewhere around at least 4 to 10 years experience. Okay, then realization phase will come. In the realization phase, we will be having, see, all the list of all the developments that we have to do is there in the gap analysis, right? So let's say we have to do some coding. So what the functional people will do is they will do the customization. We'll come back to that later. From the technical point of view, you will be doing the coding. We'll be developing some new applications and all. So what are the applications that we have to develop will be very clearly mentioned in the business requirement. So the first and foremost thing that we'll have here is business requirement. From the business requirement, we'll be creating a functional specification. From the functional specification, we'll be preparing the technical specification. And after the technical specification, you do actual coding. Then you do the testing. Then you do the documentation. Then you will prepare the unit test plan, popularly called as UTP. Then you will transport it. Okay, then uh, you will focus on if there are any issues. Again, you will rework on it. Rework is something which is optional. So these are all the things that you are going to do. But in this, business requirement is just like a line. Okay, so it's very difficult to understand the business requirement from the when you are just started with the SAP projects. So if you are a fresher, it's very difficult to understand the business requirement. For example, let's say now let's say we have you generally go to home and you say to your mom, I'm hungry. Okay, that's it. The only thing that you're going to say is I'm hungry. You're not going to say what to cook, how much to cook, and how to cook. All these things you are not going to say. You're just going to say I'm hungry. That's it. But if you go to a restaurant, you have to tell how much quantity you want, in what order you want. All these things have to be mentioned. Okay. But then if you have to tell your friend who does not know cooking at all, you have to tell them each and every step. Okay. Switch on the stove, keep the vessel, and then heat it. So every step by step you have to tell them, right? So these are the things that we can compare with business requirement, functional specification, and technical specification. So business requirement is generally understood by consultants. Business requirement is understood by consultant. Who is a consultant? Who understands end-to-end process. Okay. A consultant is just like your mother. You don't have to tell everything in detail. Okay, you just have to tell the problem, and then they will give you the solution. Those are called consultants. And then functional specification, who will understand kind of a we are taking the example of restaurant guy, right? So what the restaurant guy will do, he'll just bring you what you want. That's it. Okay, so it's functional specification is specific to a particular requirement. The technical specification is like what should be the select option, what in the select option, what should be the technical name of the select option. Everything will be clearly mentioned. So in the functional specification, let's say we will take a simple example here. Functional specification, let's say it will be written like this. So develop a report on material master data with below fields and something like that. So this one we'll go ahead with develop a report on now develop a report on Mara table. Okay, you understand the difference. I'm just telling you a very simple example here so that we can understand easily. Functional specification is all like it will be in normal English. Okay, but in technical specification we will try to use as many technical terms as possible so that it will be easy for us to do the coding. Okay, so this is all about the functional specification and technical specification. Functional specification, technical specification are documents. Business requirement is not a document. It's just a one line this thing. So it's not an official document or something like that. So it's just normally it is told in the mail. Then we have the coding. You do the coding and then you do the testing. So the testing that you do here is called buddy testing. the testing that we do in the testing that we do here is buddy testing. Buddy testing in the sense any one of your friend or your teammate will be testing it. Documentation is something we'll be having internally in the SAP, and externally outside the SAP also will have the documentation. So they will be giving, just like recently if you can see documentation. So we can create a drive. In fact, like not the Google Drive or something like that. We'll have a proper kind of a portal. In that portal, we can have the links and we can maintain the documentation for whatever is the program that you have done and everything. So we'll be preparing a documentation. So they'll be giving you a link for preparing documentation. And within SAP, you can also maintain the documentation, which I'll be explaining you later. So unit test plan. See, you have done a program. You have created a program. You have developed a program. Let's say we have a report program. This report program has to be tested by someone somewhere. Let's say you have developed that from Bangalore, and the guy who is actually testing it is in Noida. Now how does he test? How does he know what program have you done and how you have to test it? Okay, so for that you prepare a unit test plan. In unit test plan, you mention what was the requirement that was given to you initially, and what is the expected output, and what are the outputs that we are getting. So all the screenshots we'll prepare and we'll keep it there so that the testing team can test it in the testing phase. Okay, so that's what we do in the unit test plan. Transport system is something wherein like you transport it from development to quality. We have seen how the request number is generated, and how we go to SC09 and release them. So once you release them and it comes to the released ones, you can copy the request number and give it to the basis team or the administration team. The administration team will take it forward from there. The team will take it forward from them. The basis team, they have the authority to move to the quality system. Okay, and if later in the testing phase, if some testing people have found any issue in your report, then you have to go back and do the rework. Okay, so testing phase will have lot of tests. Different types of tests will be done by the testing team. So this testing team that we have in SAP most probably might be from SAP only, from SAP background only. Few of them will come from SAP background, few of them will come from testing background. Either of these two can learn SAP testing. So SAP testing team will be testing all the different scenarios, and once everything is fine, then they will give the approval. So before giving the approval, here we'll have the testing phase. Lot of types of testers will be there. Testings will be done, and after that, and to test something which you have done, the reference for them is UTP, unit test plan. Then we have UAT, user acceptance test. So this user acceptance test that we have is another document which will be prepared by us only, or sometimes for the testing team. This is users will come and test it. Users will come and test it. Users will come and test it in the sense, the client, someone from the client will come to us and they will test it. That's user acceptance test. Then we have the go live and support. So go live is like we give everything to the client, and then in the production server, so we move everything to production server and the client starts working. So before the client starts working, what we need to do is we need to give them some knowledge transfer, and we need to explain them what are the developments that we have done. So that is called end user training, or sometimes we also have super user training. So who is the super user? Is who is from the client side, but they know most of the things about SAP. They know about SAP. All that they want is they want to know about what are the developments that we have done. So those are the people. But super users are those. End users are completely unaware of the SAP software, and they have to be trained from the beginning. So after all these things, the client starts working. During the work, if the client gets any issue, in fact, in case if the client gets any issue, then that will be covered in the support project. Okay, in the support project, it's not a support project, it's a support phase in which we have post production issues will be solved. Post production issues. So before itself, the implementing company have to give a commitment to the client how many months or days they are going to support after the production, because this is the time when most of the issues will come. Most of the issues will come at the support phase, because the stability, to get the stability in the project, it needs at least 3 to 6 months. So that is the phase in which it's very crucial. So once it stabilizes, then the client will take care of the project from there. Okay, so these are the phases, and each phase, let's see each phase who will work and how much time will it take to run the project. So here we discussed that the project preparation phase will be there for 15 to 30 days, and the people who will be working is 8 to 12 years experience guys. So probably for each department there will be at least 2 people, so somewhere around 30 to 40 people also might work in this project preparation phase. And the business blueprint phase will run for some 30 to 60 days on an average. 30 to 60 days, and this in this 4 to 10 years experience people will be working. Realization phase will take 3 to 6 months. I'm not highlighting the number of people who will be working, because entire team of, let's say if the company plans to hire 100 to 200 people, all the 100 to 200 people will be hired at the beginning only, and they will be given some different tasks, like assisting the front end team in the back end with the back end support or something like that. So 3 to 6 months realization phase will happen, and this in this who will be working is people who have 0 to 5 years or 6 years or something. 0 to 5 years people will be working here. Means as a fresher, if you are entering into the realization phase of the implementation project, wherein you should be given the technical specification document. Only when you give when they give you the technical specification document with all the clear details of what should be the table from which you have to extract, what should be the internal table name, working everything, if it is given very clearly, then you'll be able to develop it. So this is the phase that you will enter. Okay, and this will be, and testing phase will run again for say 30 to 60 days. Okay, and here people who have 3 to 6 years experience in testing will come here. Go live and support will be there for somewhere around 15 to 30 days. Support project support will be there from 15 days to 3 months. Okay, so it's upon the mutual understanding of the client and our implementing company how many days we are going to stick to them, and we're going to solve the issues whichever they get. This is what we have. Okay.